April 20th, 2026. Two headlines. Same country, same day. Headline 1. India signs security cooperation deal with Ukraine. Headline 2. India purchases another 14 million barrels of discounted Russian crude. Read that again. Arming Ukraine's allies, funding Russia's war machine. On the same day. Moscow did not call, Kyiv did not object. Washington said nothing. Because everyone needs India, and India needs no one. This is not hypocrisy. This is not confusion. This is the most sophisticated geopolitical strategy on the planet right now. And almost nobody is talking about it. India has a name for what it does. They call it strategic autonomy. The idea is simple. India will not be told what to do by anyone. Not by Washington, not by Beijing, not by Moscow, not by the United Nations, not by OPEC, not by SWIFT. India was the founding member of the Non-Aligned Movement, 1955. When the Cold War forced every nation to choose a side, America or Soviet Union, India refused. They watched two empires destroy smaller nations by using them as proxies. And they said, no. 70 years later, the strategy has never been more valuable. The world is fracturing. America versus China, Russia versus the West, the dollar versus the yuan, OPEC versus everyone, the old financial system versus the new one. Every fracture creates a gap, and India has positioned itself directly inside every single one. Watch what they did while the world was fighting. When the West sanctioned Russia, it expected Russia to collapse. It did not collapse, because India stepped in. Before 2022, India imported less than 1% of its oil from Russia. By 2025, Russia was India's largest oil supplier, over 40% of Indian crude imports. India was buying Russian oil at a discount of $20 to $30 per barrel, below market price, because Russia had nowhere else to sell. India is the world's third largest oil importer, 4.6 million barrels per day. Do the math. $25 discount. 4.6 million barrels. Every day. That is $42 billion per year. Saved. $42 billion. That the West tried to take from Russia, and India quietly pocketed. And now, with OPEC fracturing, the UAE pumping freely, oil prices under structural pressure, India's discount only deepens. Every collapse we have covered in this series is a savings account for New Delhi. But oil is just the beginning. The real play is manufacturing. For 30 years, every global company needed China. The factory of the world, cheap labor, efficient logistics, scale, no alternative. Then came the trade wars. Then came COVID. Then came Taiwan. Suddenly, every boardroom in the world asked the same question. What if we can't use China anymore? They call it China Plus One, the strategy of keeping China but building a backup. India is the backup. Apple moved iPhone production to India. Samsung, Google, Tesla suppliers, semiconductor assembly, pharmaceutical manufacturing, defense components. India's manufacturing exports grew 14% in 2025. Its defense exports grew 62% to $4.1 billion. Not because India went to war, because the world decided it could no longer afford to have all its supply chains in one country. China's loss, India's gain. While China and America were fighting, India's factories were filling orders from both sides. We covered the dollar weapon, how SWIFT became a financial missile aimed at Russia, but felt by everyone who saw it. India saw it. India began settling oil trades in rupees, with Russia, with UAE, with select Gulf states. A quiet, deliberate move away from dollar dependency. The Reserve Bank of India announced rupee trade settlement frameworks with 18 countries. Not to destroy the dollar, not to build the yuan, to protect India. Because India watched what happened to Russia, frozen out of SWIFT overnight, and understood any country that depends entirely on the dollar is one political decision away from economic annihilation. India is not making that mistake. It trades in dollars when convenient. It trades in rupees when necessary. It trades in yuan when profitable. No ideology, no loyalty, only leverage. We covered the Lithium Triangle, Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, the world's largest lithium reserves, and the coups, the conflicts, the great power competition for control. India did not fight that war. It signed contracts. India's state mining company, Kabil, Khanij Badesh India Limited, secured lithium exploration rights in Argentina. No military presence, no destabilization, no coup. A government-to-government deal. Signed, funded, moving forward. India also signed agreements with Australia, the world's largest lithium producer, for long-term supply, and with Chile, and with the Democratic Republic of Congo for cobalt. India is quietly building the most geographically diversified critical mineral supply chain in the world, not by controlling the source, by partnering with everyone. China controls the processing. America is scrambling for the mines. India has agreements with both sides' suppliers. April 2026. Donald Trump reshared a post calling India a hellhole. India's foreign ministry responded, calmly, precisely, uninformed, inappropriate, and in poor taste. Then, India continued its trade negotiations with Washington. It continued purchasing American defense equipment. It continued the semiconductor partnership discussions. Because India understood something most nations do not. You do not need to win the argument. You need to win the deal. India absorbs insults from Washington because Washington needs India's market. 1.4 billion consumers. The world's fastest-growing economy. America cannot afford to lose India. India absorbs pressure from Beijing because Beijing needs Indian stability on its southern border. India takes Russian oil because Russia needs Indian cash. Every major power needs India more than India needs them. That asymmetry is the most powerful geopolitical position on Earth right now. Now, the honest reckoning. India is not perfect. Its strategy has limits. Infrastructure. India's roads, ports, and power grids cannot yet match China's. The factories are filling orders, but the logistics are straining. Bureaucracy. India's regulatory environment remains one of the most complex on Earth. Foreign investment often stalls in a maze of approvals. The rupee. India slipped to 6th in global GDP rankings in April 2026, not because growth slowed, but because rupee depreciation shrinks the dollar-denominated number. An accounting problem. But one that affects perception. And perception is leverage. India's greatest risk is not external, it is internal. A country that plays every side must maintain the trust of every side. The moment India is seen as unreliable, as taking too much and giving too little, the strategy collapses. For now, it is working. Because every major power believes India is quietly on their side. That is not a lie, that is genius. The petrodollar gave America the world. OPEC gave the Gulf states the price. The Yuan is building the alternative. Rare earths gave China the leverage. The Lithium Triangle shifted the energy transition. The dollar weapon is backfiring. The UAE shattered the oil cartel from within. And India watched every single one of these moves, read every power shift, calculated every fracture, and positioned itself to win from all of them. This is what strategic autonomy looks like at full execution. Not armies, not sanctions, not alliances. Optionality. The ability to move in any direction at any moment because you owe nothing to anyone. The great powers of the 20th century were built on dominance. The great power of the 21st century may be built on something far more dangerous. Indispensability. Make yourself necessary to everyone. Answer to no one. India is not the next America. It is not the next China. It is something the world has not seen before. A country of 1.4 billion people playing the longest game on the board. Now you know. 8 fractures, one country threading them all. The next video. The financial system being built to replace everything we've covered. The architecture of the world after the dollar. Subscribe. This series is not done.